And welcome back to the Michael Cohen Show on our continued journey to 500,000 subscribers. Let's go. Let's build this community. Hit subscribe, watch, comment, and share with family and friends because it's the only way that we're going to be able to put an end to this chaos, this stupidity, this insanity. Now, on Monday, former Attorney General Bill Barr began his deposition. This, of course, is regarding the Epstein matter. And while that may seem like a step in the right direction, it's not that simple. Instead of demanding complete accountability, Republicans in Congress, they issued subpoenas targeting prominent Democrats while literally ignoring the prosecutor who was behind Epstein's sweetheart deal, who just so happens, by the way, serve in Trump's cabinet. Now, on my Mea Culpa podcast, my guest David Aronberg and I, we spoke about why James Comer and the House Oversight Committee absolutely refuse to do any real oversight regarding this matter. Play the clip.
It shows that that list that James Comer subpoenaed is not a serious list. If it were a serious list, then Alex Acosta would be on it. If they were really interested in fact finding, he would be on it. Trump would be on it too, quite frankly. But instead, this is a list for political purposes. It's as if Comer threw darts at a list of Donald Trump's enemies. So you've got Hillary Clinton, for whatever reason, Bill Clinton, you've got Bob Mueller, who Trump hates, but he had nothing to do with the non-prosecution decision Alex Acosta did.
You have Jeff Sessions, you have yeah, I mean
Bill Barr.
Bill Barr, which by the way,
James
I'm glad.
James Comey.
Right?
And you've got this is the greatest hits. This is like
Loretta Lynch. You have Loretta Lynch, and you have what's the last guy's name as well? I forget, but
Eric Holder.
Eric Holder.
This is greatest hits. This is like one of those commercials for a 70s album back then where it's just like old replayed hits. And you know what this shows, Michael, is that this whole Epstein controversy is ginned up as Pizzagate 2.0. This is a far-right conspiracy theory that there's this cabal of Democratic elites that have a child sex ring running either at a pizza place or on Epstein Island, and Bill Clinton and Bill Gates are at the top of that list. Well, the reality is there is no Epstein list. There is an Epstein file, but there's not an Epstein list. And it's not just a partisan cabal like they're told. They were fed a bill of goods, and now the base is ready to revolt. And to mollify them, you've got James Comer saying, all right, we're going to do subpoenas, and we're going to subpoena Bill and Hillary Clinton. Good luck with that. If you really were interested in finding the truth, you would go and subpoena Alex Acosta, which they didn't.
I mean, I don't even believe that Trump should be subpoenaed. And I'm sure a lot of my listeners will be like, wait. Are we listening to Michael Cohen? Are we listening to Mea Culpa podcast with Dave Aronberg? Fuck out of here. What are you talking about? Who, right? Did something happen to him? Did he bang his head or something? No, I don't believe that they should subpoena Trump. First of all, as president, he wouldn't end up having to show up anyway. But the real answers that we want right now are in the head of Alex Acosta. And everything, not only should we also have Alex Acosta, but what about the victims who actually want to speak out? We know who they are. We know who the victims are. Their names are in the file. Is it so difficult to conceive that our House Oversight Committee, our illustrious members of the House, and our members of Congress can figure out where these people are, call them up and say, hi, I'm calling from the office of James Comer, the chair of the House Oversight Committee. You've been pretty vocal about your experiences as it related to the Epstein matter. Would you be willing to testify before Congress? Give them the opportunity, if they want it, to come forward, to tell their story. Instead, by ignoring them, I feel that Comer and the House Oversight Committee are merely victimizing the victims yet again.
Well, if they wanted to actually pursue the truth, they would subpoena people who know things. Now, they could try to subpoena the victims, but a lot of the victims want this thing to be over. This is something that traumatizes them. If they want to subpoena third-party co-conspirators, those individuals will have their Fifth Amendment right. If they want to subpoena Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, that's going to be a fight in court, because you got to have a legislative purpose, a legitimate one, and not just a gotcha. And all the people have to do is to fight this out in the courts, like Trump and his people did when the January 6th committee, they subpoenaed them. Remember, Jim Jordan didn't even show up at all. He just ignored the subpoena. So Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and others can just ignore it, fight out in the courts. And then next November, in 2026, the Democrats are expected to gain control of the House, and then the Comer committee is gone.
Yeah, well, I like the idea of expected, but I never today, especially, I don't take anything for granted. It's why I'm constantly pushing, whether it's here on Mea Culpa, my Substack, or my YouTube lives. It doesn't matter. I keep calling for people to become part of this community, join the conversation. Why? Because the midterm elections is going to be everything. Now, I do want to ask you this. We now know that Alex Acosta personally approved a deal, and this is possibly the greatest fucking deal I've ever heard, that gave Epstein 13 months in this cushy Florida jail. He was also given daily work release, despite the mountains of it. I mean, imagine he's able to leave 6 out of 7 days to go back to the mansion to do work. It's almost like he was using the jail as like a timeshare, despite the mountains of evidence and the dozens and dozens and dozens of victims. Why isn't that prosecutorial misconduct worthy of a subpoena? Or, better than that, disbarment?
Well, the Inspector General at the Department of Justice investigated this, and they found that there were some squirrely things going on, but that there was nothing criminal about it. You do have a lot of discretion. The worst part of that deal, Michael, is what you touched upon, is that it offered immunity to unidentified co-conspirators then and in the future. I've never heard of that before. And they did that without telling the victims. And so the victims were supposed to be notified under federal law, and they sued, and it was in federal court on this issue. But the federal judge essentially said, what's the remedy here? And so they got shafted, the victims, because they were unaware this was going on. And in fact, the consequences of that non-prosecution agreement continue to live on. Do you know that Ghislaine Maxwell's case right now is sitting before the Supreme Court, and her main argument in reversing her conviction is that she gets the benefit of that non-prosecution deal. That immunity flows to her. Now, what happened was the Southern District of New York said, we are not abiding by that deal cut by the Southern District of Florida, so it's game on. Her argument is the feds make a deal, all the feds must obey it. It is not a crazy argument, and it could succeed at the Supreme Court. We'll see.
I've talked about that as well. I have a funny feeling, especially based upon now the president, let's just say, throwing his arms around this matter. I think it's a very legitimate argument that she was making. That non-prosecution agreement should have extended. And she's not wrong. Could you imagine? You make a non-prosecution agreement with a federal judge in one state and another state doesn't have to abide by it. That, to me, just places everybody. You'd never be able to make a deal with anybody.
It's a legitimate argument, Michael, because it does affect all cases. Although here, I guess the best argument for the government is that this agreement in itself is so unusual, where you are saying immunity for unidentified people, that can't be valid. How can it be valid to say anyone else in the future, any involved in this case in any way, unidentified or identified, is given immunity? That is a stretch. And I think that perhaps is the weakness of the Maxwell argument, because the underlying agreement seems to be one that is void. And that's why I'm not sure where the Supreme Court's going to go on it, but yeah, you're right to say that this is a legitimate argument by Maxwell that could eventually set her free.
I'll tell you, I see one thing very different taking place here as it relates to Ghislaine and this whole concept. My concern is that she will get out and that she will never have provided any additional testimony regarding this case, because I believe that she should be on that list as well. Now, I know that they have subpoenaed her, and the claim is that, well, the Supreme Court has not heard this case yet, and that she could be hurting and harming herself. I'm not so sure that the two actually correlate, but that too is a very legitimate argument. As a lawyer, if I was representing Maxwell, I would never allow her to testify while I have a pending appeal going on. It's not just stupid, it's actually legal malpractice. So, what they should be doing now is saying to the Supreme Court, hop on it. Give us an answer in 30 days. Give us an answer so that we can actually put her on the stand if, in fact, that she's not if she's not released.
It's also the same reasoning she has in opposing the release of the grand jury transcripts. Remember, the Trump administration went to court in New York to get those grand jury transcripts released, knowing that they really it's not going to be
It would fail.
released. It failed, and they can blame the judges and say, aha, you see, not our fault. Blame those judges, liberal activist judges, even though they probably appointed many of these judges, but whatever. And so she is arguing that because her conviction could be overturned at the Supreme Court, that if you release these grand jury documents, it will hurt her chances in the future of getting a fair trial if she needs one. It will hurt her legal proceedings down the road. And she's got an argument. It's another reason why I don't think they're going to release these documents, because her matter is still pending. And you can admit hearsay in grand jury proceedings. So what you're doing is putting out there into the public stuff that's hearsay and that she's not able to cross-examine and fight back against. So that's her argument. But you're right. She should want this whole thing to be decided sooner than later and then speak up. But you know why she doesn't speak up? It's not just that she's worried about the Supreme Court in her case. It's because she has never admitted to doing anything wrong. In fact, in a 2016 deposition, defending herself against a defamation claim from victim Virginia Giuffre, Ghislaine Maxwell actually said under oath that she had never seen Jeffrey Epstein engage in any improper activities with underage girls. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's why she was charged by the Trump administration in 2020 for 2 counts of perjury. And now the same person who the Trump administration back in 2020 deemed a liar, because she is now seen as a reliable source of information that warranted the number 2 person of the DOJ to go down and take personal testimony from her in Tallahassee.
Yeah. Well, meanwhile, congressional Republicans, they too want to dig into Epstein's client list. They won't touch the man who actually made the list legally untouchable. Again, talking about Acosta. Is that because Acosta was Trump's labor secretary during the first administration? Or do you think it's because this committee is literally running a cover-up, not an investigation?
The committee does not want to get sideways with the boss, Donald Trump, the leader of the party. So they're only subpoenaing his enemies. They're only going after a list of Trump enemies. Alex Acosta is not a Trump enemy. Alex Acosta was part of Trump's cabinet, and he could do a lot of damage in what he says to the Trump administration because he was the Secretary of Labor there. And also, he could blow holes in this whole Democratic cabal that's out there. See, Ghislaine Maxwell, unlike Acosta, wants to play ball. Ghislaine Maxwell will say whatever the administration wants her to say because she wants a pardon. And look, she got a beneficial placement in a minimum security prison.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get to that.
Shortly after she had that interview with Todd Blanche, the number 2 person at the DOJ. So I think the reason why Acosta wasn't subpoenaed was for the reasons I just said. I don't think it's necessarily that anything else beyond that they just want to protect Donald Trump.
Hey, everyone. First of all, thanks for watching. I mean, we're going to be posting daily episodes with reactions and talking about politics. We'll be talking about everything, in fact. So please like and subscribe. Join us on this journey.